All right, we are recording. Hello, LéTania
Hi.
Severe here with King County Equity Now's research team, she, her pronouns. I am joined by
Shaun Glaze, King County Equity Now, they, them pronouns. Hello, everyone.
Awesome. Cool. So today we're going to talk about a couple different things. I'm going to start off with the solidarity budget. We had a press conference this week, and on Monday, it was awesome. It was a launch of the solidarity budget statement. The solidarity budget is a group of a variety of people came together to essentially, tell the mayor, tell the elected council, we want to prioritize defunding SPD, prioritize the needs of Black people. There are labor folks on there. There's King County Equity Now and Decrim Seattle are part of that, as well as we got the Transit Riders Union involved, the Green New Deal folks, 350 Seattle, Puget Sound Sage, a lot of great orgs who are doing different work around equity, some around climate justice, some around transportation and vital services, and of course around divesting from policing and reinvesting into community. I'm going to share my screen, show a little bit of the solidarity budget statement that is available to be signed by organizations. Let's see, let's share this one here. So there you go. So this is our form where orgs can come here. We'll drop the link in the chat. As I mentioned, some of the priorities around budget, divesting from SPD, using a participatory budgeting model to reinvest those funds that would be divested from SPD, preserving vital public services like transportation, money that is allocated for Jumpstart, which is for emergency COVID relief and parks and things like that, as well as increasing community access to dignified emergency shelter and affordable housing, and decriminalizing homeless services, like removing the NAV team, and also purchasing hotels for for housing people in single occupancy spaces, which is obviously really important at a time like now. The other thing is the Green New Deal, as well as curbing the criminalization of poverty and mental health struggles. There's information about the duress defense in here, which was presented at council, I believe it was yesterday. So this is an opportunity for organizations to sign on. Let's see, I'm also going to show, there's also an opportunity for individuals to sign on. Let me pull that up. This one just launched yesterday or today, maybe it was today. Days start to merge. Let's go.
I would just love to highlight a couple of key things here. Like, this is unprecedented. This has never, ever, ever happened before. These are large coalitions coming together as coalitions to basically say, no, you will not pit us against each other. You will not divide us. You will not take money from vital services and things that need to happen in order to have not only just a just world, but a world. Forget that. Instead, you will honor your commitments to community, especially to Black community, and that is what this whole thing is about. So we have so many organizations and people who have signed on in support of this. And it's like people you just don't normally see working together all the time, coming together to really push for a better world.
Yeah, for real. I think sometimes, while you're in it, you forget like just how magnificent and historic the work is. And so, yeah, there's a bunch of great groups working together. I think I described it as coalitions of coalitions of coalitions working together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're trying to bring everybody into this, and you know, like Shaun said, you know, a lot of times we get pitted against each other for the same pot of money, and we're just like, no, we're not doing that. All these funds that have been allocated prior are important. They're important to Black people. They're important to all people, BIPOC individuals, and so low-income folks, houseless folks, people who have needs around a variety of issues are in these other funds, and to try and like move that money to allocate for something that, you know, the mayor promised without actually having a bucket of money for is not okay. So take the money from the police; they have it. The money is there, and then everybody can be whole. So yeah, that's what we're advocating for. We'll drop some links in the description where you can sign on as an organization or as an individual, and go ahead and, you know, rep the solidarity budget, share it with your family and friends and other colleagues. I'm going to move on to our next item. We also had on Monday was a busy day. We had a teach-in around talking a little bit about the difference between the mayor's task force and the community research and participatory budgeting model. So, you know, as we mentioned before, the mayor's task force is some handpicked individuals who are BIPOC individuals who do work in the area, and you know, around a variety of issues, and that they are tasked with figuring out how to spend the $100 million that the mayor has promised the BIPOC community. We're advocating for a more community-led process in which community voice is elevated, Black voice is elevated, and more voices are allowed to be involved in the process. And so the easiest way to compare it is you got, you know, 20 something people who are handpicked by the mayor who have some type of access to power, having an opportunity to decide how to spend that money, or you let the hundreds of thousands of people who live in the community decide how that money should be spent, while prioritizing the needs of Black people in the area. So we would love for anyone who's involved in the task force to join on with the community process. Reach out to us to learn more. We'll drop our email in the chat. We can be reached at research@kingcountyequitynow.com. But yeah, reach out. We definitely are interested in you know, informing you about this process and how it's a much more equitable, inclusive process, and how you can be involved in that work, as opposed to a lot more closed, not really accessible process that the mayor has created.
Absolutely. And for those of you who are kind of newer to this conversation, I just want to say the mayor didn't come up with the idea for the task force until she saw that we were winning this participatory budgeting process. Once she realized she would not be able to have as much control over funding, she decided, you know what, I'm gonna, you know, do this parallel process that'll, you know, undermine and undercut what community is doing, because then I'll have more control. And one of the things that is usually true, but isn't true this time, is usually it is, you know, as people of color, as Black folks, what we're used to is someone in the mayor's position to be like, well, it's my way or the highway, right? Either you're with, you know, what I'm going to do, there's no other mechanism to affect change. And so people have to make really difficult decisions about what's going to best help get the resources they need for community. But this time around, that actually isn't the case. You have a situation where community has fought really, really hard to create a community-led process that is equity focused, that is inclusive, that is highlighting the lived experiences of people who like very rarely will show up in any kind of data set to inform decision making. In many cases, because, you know, people are working like 3-4 jobs, or are in very like precarious situations, maybe experiencing homelessness or having just a lot of things that are going to get in the way of taking time out of your day to go to maybe a 11 to 12 o'clock meeting in City Hall with 20 other people making chit chat and talking about like some just general ideas. So I think it's really exciting to have not only an alternative to the normal kind of my way or the highway, but to have one that's being built by Black folks for Black folks, right. Prioritizing Black folks, and like just making sure that it's sustainable across time. Like it's really exciting. And so that's why dozens of people have declined the mayor's task force again and again after talking to community about like what community actually wants. And what community wants is a fundamental change in the status quo, is a fundamental change in how resources are allocated, and a way to really highlight and prioritize the things that will create true safety, health, and thriving for us and for those we care about. Is really exciting work.
Yeah, it's very, yeah. I'm very excited to see more people on the task force decline and join the community process. I mean, I think that the most important thing is talk to folks who if you are a member of the task force, talk to folks who in the community, ask them what they would what they like about a process where money would be allocated, and also talk to people who have left the task force. Those people were in your position. Some of them accepted and then declined. Those are people definitely to talk to, because you have a lot of similarities around why they probably accepted, and it's just a little more information about maybe why they declined.
Like Shaun Glaze published a piece in the South Seattle Emerald, I believe.
Yep.
Triana Holiday has spoken about declining the task force as well on Converge Media and some other platforms, including at the teach-in on Monday. So like I think it's really important for people just to have the information they need to help them figure out how to move in community. So that's exciting. I have a couple of research findings to share if now's a good time.
Perfect timing.
Is now good?
Yeah, do it.
Okay, cool. So y'all, today Form B was due. Form B, for those of you who aren't Seattle city budget junkies, is a documents that council writes to basically say, here's like priority things that we're going to be focusing on. Everything after this point, you can't make new investments without identifying where those investments are coming from. And so this was one of the most crucial times to make sure that there's community voice really like anchoring this process. I mean, y'all may remember we started this research in the summer. So consolidating and summarizing and working through essentially like 4 months worth of analysis and thought, as well as we launched the paid portion of our community research in September with several teams. At this point, we have I think 7 teams on deck, all doing their own research. Some teams like having sub teams underneath doing interviews, doing conversations with community, doing events, doing surveys, doing arts-based approaches, taking pictures and videos and music, and like consolidating all of that into a 19-page document to help kind of inform these Form Bs. Is basically what this week has looked like for us. I am exhausted. I'm gonna sleep right after this. But some of the key takeaways, y'all, like, I mean, I think some of this, if the survey, which is like over 700 people have responded in the last couple of weeks, is any indication of where the conversation's at, a lot of stuff is kind of like a no duh kind of moment where it's like people want to see like we said, less investment in police, because they're just like, wow, the police budget is huge, the court budget is huge, right? Just like the policing systems budgets are huge, and are a great source of revenue for community reinvestments. A couple of things that I really want to highlight for folks is that By far, thank you. One of the most important things to realize is that when we say that Black expertise and experience and leadership and wisdom, should lead the way. I'm going to turn off my video because it keeps freaking out. Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you well.
Yes?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, great. So when we say that Black experience, expertise, wisdom, and leadership should lead the way, one of the key reasons why is because Black people have spent a lot of time thinking about this, about injustice and what a better world could look like. And so while some of the big themes are people want more investments in housing, mental health, youth, intergenerational spaces and investments, and in economic and business, resources and support, I think a lot of people would be like, oh yeah, that sounds like what everyone wants. But when you hear about the specific ways that people want to prioritize those reinvestments, like thinking about how what we really need is a crisis response system that doesn't rely on government workers in general as the first body responding to a situation that's like escalating, makes a lot of sense. This idea that focusing on like hyper local, like almost like neighborhood based like team models, or like very people who are near you, perhaps that are more likely to look like you, being trained and able to support and respond earlier on before it's a level 10 emergency,
right.
is huge. And community, especially Black community, is like, yeah, no duh, like that's what we want. But a lot of people who don't navigate a world where institutional harm is the norm and that it negatively affects them, it's a surprise. It's like, oh, you wouldn't want just to have like a different type of government employee come to you. It's like, well, I mean, definitely not as the first course of action. I would. So there's some really key insights, and we'll share them more. We're creating assets that are just way more accessible than the kind of things that we have to produce for a city council. But there's that. There's a huge focus on intergenerational supports and solutions. And so thinking about our elders and our youth together, and how do we kind of keep and create relationships that are healing and that are able to rely on the unique strengths that come to us across the lifespan are big things. Ancestral knowledge and passing that down, and also really honoring and celebrating the brilliance of our young people and creating pipelines and relationships that allow young folks to succeed in life, while simultaneously recognizing the unique role of elders to be able to support them. Like, it's just very beautiful findings that are consistent with what I know, being a Black person, right, who lives in this community context, but that a lot of elected officials and perhaps the public at large just hasn't had the time to really kind of think through. And so this has been really great work. Again, 100% props to all of the people in community working and contributing their voices and their wisdom to this effort, because it is beautiful and powerful and necessary to create that new world that we're so excited about. So those are some key pieces. LéTania, I know that you read through the currently 19-page document, and it's packed, y'all. There's like almost no white space.
It's I think a couple of things. One, for me, just doing the work and meeting the teams and just seeing how much work has been being done. Like, there's all this body of work that, like, Black people are always trying to, like, man, how are we gonna make this world better for us? We constantly fighting all these things, and so, for pretty much all the Black people I know, like, you always thinking that way, right? And so, like, you jump into a project like this, you're like, yeah, I got like 10 ideas already, because I've been like talking to people about them, and I've been like thinking about how to like figure them out. And so that's been a really cool thing. And so that, when you look at the findings, you're just like, you're like, oh yeah, these are the types, some of the things that I was wondering too, right? And so, and people have been doing them. I also think that it's very interesting, and you talk about it too, like how layered all the individual things that, like, I think a lot of people thinking maybe non-Black people or non-BIPOC people probably think a little more in silos, where it's just like, okay, yeah, you need some housing, great, let's get you some housing. It's like, yeah, I need housing where I could have like my parents live here, and I also want my grandkids to live here, and I also might want a little space to rent out, and for art space, and so like it's just, and I also want to make sure that I'm in a neighborhood where there's people who look like me, people from my community, so that I have like connections to. So like it's not just like a one thing that we, that people are like recommending. It's got a lot of layers to it. And I think that that's probably something, like you said, that's just maybe new to a lot of the people who are going to be coming through the information in the council, as well as, the larger community once we start putting out some of those assets.
Absolutely. Yes. And I think another really good example is we also write a lot about how important it is to include explicit, supports, investments that are fighting legal and illegal discrimination. So, and that means different things for different communities, but some of the examples that come up over and over again is the kind of discrimination that happens for people who have criminal records and who were formerly incarcerated, the type of discrimination that happens for trans people, and like, what does it look like to not have documents that match what people are expecting, or maybe you have this set of documents for this thing but not this other thing. What does it look like to be a foster child, or like to have a really unstable housing record, and you're trying to get housing? They're like, oh yeah, just give me the contact information for like the last 3 years of residences. You're like, well, and so really just thinking through what are the sort of more specific things that we need to be investing in order to change the material conditions of people's lives. So not just like the idea of it, but just like really change the world for real. So that's really exciting. Kudos to all the teams, and we have more teams joining us this week and next week, and that's super exciting. We welcomed the Silent Task Force yesterday. We had our kickoff meeting.
That's right.
They're fantastic. Can't wait for y'all to see their podcast and other kinds of things that they'll be putting together. An amazing team, deeply embedded in community, knows where like all of the different pockets of Black folks are. Just wonderful outreach record, reaching people in very like sensitive situations, domestic violence, homelessness, substance use, and just a lot of really
food
great
insecurity. They're doing so much stuff all over the county. It's amazing. Yeah, cool. Should we pop over to some calls to action?
I think so. Keep an eye out, y'all, for the research podcast. We also are expecting to be on TV soon, and on some websites. So just don't sleep on us.
That's right. Keep your eye out, please. Yeah, definitely like listening to our researchers podcast as well. And go check them out on their social media, and and support the work that they're doing, because we're just here to support them, and it's great for the community to like make sure they're tapping into that information that they're putting out, and supporting those teams. I can start us off with some calls to action. The solidarity budget, which I brought up, if you're an org or an individual, we got 2 different forms. I'll drop those links into the description. Take it out, check it out, read it, sign it, share it. We're trying to bring in everybody on this thing. Remember, like, we're making history. This is something super unique around the country, to be able to bring a group of people together like that. On Tuesday, October 27th, is it the 22nd? Let me double check. Don't want to mess up this date. Yep, Tuesday, October 27th will be public comment, and we will send some information about that. So be on the lookout for that. I think it's in the evening. I want to say 5:30, but don't quote me on that. We'll put it in the description. Shaun, I'll let you do the last two.
Sure. So please complete and share and get more people in your household to complete the community needs assessment survey. You know, at this point, we've paid out dozens of thousands of dollars based on people's answers to the community needs assessment survey. We've heard from people across age span. We've also heard from different racial, ethnic, linguistic groups. It's in 15 languages. We're just very proud of the work that people have put into this already. Again, we're still waiting for the city funds to release. And so to be able to accomplish this much so far has been really exciting. I can tell you, I read every single response. So, you know, definitely there's a human being that reads them. It's not just like someone out in the ether. And I love reading people's answers to the last few questions in particular. So I'll say that's your little teaser for those of you who may not have answered.
Gotta get to the end of the survey, fill it out, get to the end, get a really fun question, you know?
Yes, absolutely. And then the last piece is we are still running the Free the Funds campaign, #FreeTheFunds. Our mayor has not released the $10 million to scale up community responses. This is crucial funding, especially right now, to be able to build the capacity for our communities to respond and prevent harm. And so please, please, please continue to push for that. And if you're on the task force, I will say that I think that means you might have more of the mayor's ear. So a concrete ask I have of you, other than, you know, talking to us about the community process and seeing how you can join that, is definitely to be pushing for these investments to go out. I don't know if the mayor is communicating that she has the power to release those, but that is absolutely the reality. So just going to put that out there. And that's all I have, LéTania.
That's all we got. All right. Well, until next time, we'll see you all later. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.